Have you ever wondered where we truly come from? For centuries, we've looked to religion and science for answers. But what if the oldest story ever written holds the key? What if it's a story not of gods, but of visitors from another world? Today, we're journeying back over 5,000 years to ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, to uncover the astonishing tale of the Sumerians and the Anunnaki. Imagine a world just emerging from the Stone Age. Suddenly, in a region we now call Iraq, a civilization explodes into existence. These people, the Sumerians, seem to invent everything overnight: the wheel, writing, complex mathematics, astronomy, massive cities with towering ziggurats. It's a quantum leap in human history, a sudden burst of genius that has puzzled historians for generations. Where did all this knowledge come from? Mainstream archaeology suggests a slow, gradual evolution, but the evidence on the ground tells a different story, one of sudden, unprecedented advancement. The Sumerians themselves gave a very clear answer. They said they were taught. They documented their history on thousands of clay tablets, using a sophisticated script called cuneiform. And on these tablets they tell the story of powerful beings they called the Anunnaki. The name itself is chillingly specific. It translates to those who from the heavens to earth came. These weren't described as ethereal, magical gods in the clouds. The Sumerians depicted them as physical beings who descended from the sky in fiery chariots, walked among them, and ruled over them as the first kings. According to these ancient texts, the Anunnaki came to Earth for a specific purpose: to mine its resources, particularly gold. The work was grueling, and eventually, the Anunnaki workers rebelled. To solve this labor crisis, their chief scientists Enki and Nina Hersag were tasked with creating a primitive worker or slave race. The texts describe a process that sounds eerily like genetic engineering. They took a native hominid, an early human ancestor already on Earth, and mixed its essence with their own. The result was a hybrid being, the first Homo sapiens, us. We were created, according to the Sumerians, to be miners and servants for our alien masters. This might sound like science fiction, but the Sumerians were meticulous record keepers. They listed their kings in documents like the Sumerian king list, which details reigns lasting for tens of thousands of years before a great flood, another story you might recognize, and then shorter, more human-like reigns afterward. Was this a memory of the long-lived Anunnaki rulers followed by their human hybrid successors? They weren't just telling allegorical tales. These were their historical records, their truth, and the physical evidence is just as mind-boggling. Among the thousands of artifacts unearthed are cylinder seals. When rolled onto clay, these small stone cylinders reveal intricate images. One famous seal, VA-243, has stunned researchers as it clearly depicts our solar system, with the sun at the center, surrounded by planets. But here's the impossible part. It shows all the planets we know today, including Uranus and Neptune, which weren't officially discovered by modern science until the 18th and 19th centuries. You can't see them with the naked eye. How did the Sumerians know they were there? But the seal shows something else, something even more controversial. Between Mars and Jupiter, it depicts a massive 12th planet. The Sumerians called it Nibiru, the planet of the crossing, according to their epics. Like the Enuma Elish, Nibiru was the home world of the Anunnaki. It had a huge elliptical orbit that brought it into our inner solar system only once every 3,600 years. It was during these passages that the Anunnaki traveled between their world and ours. This ancient cosmology explains the Anunnaki's origins and even provides a celestial mechanism for their periodic returns. Mainstream scholars dismiss these stories as creation myths. They argue that the Anunnaki were simply the personification of natural forces or symbolic representations of the Sumerian pantheon of gods. They say the advanced knowledge was a natural development, and the planetary depictions are just misunderstood star patterns. To them, the idea of ancient astronauts is pseudoscience, a misreading of myth as history. They believe we are imposing our modern, technological worldview onto ancient beliefs. But are we? The counter-argument is powerful. Why would a civilization invent such a specific technical story? Why not just say a magical god created them from dust? Instead, they describe a process of genetic mixing. They depict planets they couldn't possibly have seen. They documented technologies like flight and advanced metallurgy. The sheer detail and consistency across thousands of tablets are hard to dismiss as mere fantasy. Proponents of the ancient astronaut theory, like Zecharia Sitchin, who translated many of these texts, argue that it's far more arrogant to assume the Sumerians were primitive mythmakers than to take them at their word. Consider the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving works of literature. It speaks of the hero Gilgamesh, who is described as 2/3 god, 1/3 man. This isn't just a turn of phrase, it's a specific genetic ratio. He interacts with the Anunnaki, travels to see the survivor of the Great Flood, and even seeks a form of immortality, a quality he saw in his god creators. These stories are woven into the very fabric of their culture, not as bedtime stories, but as the foundation of their history. law, and royal lineage. So we are left with a profound choice. On one hand, we have the conventional explanation that the Sumerians, despite their genius, were just creating symbolic myths to explain the world around them, and their sudden rise is a historical anomaly yet to be fully understood. On the other hand, we have the Sumerians' own words, that they are the product of an extraterrestrial intervention, that our creators were beings of flesh and blood who came from a planet called Nibiru, engineered our species for labor, and then left us to our own devices, promising one day to return. This isn't just a story about the past. If the Anunnaki narrative is true, it changes everything we know about ourselves. It means we are not alone in the universe, and we never have been. It means our own DNA contains a secret, an alien inheritance. Could it explain the missing link in human evolution that continues to elude science? Could it be the source of ancient myths of gods and giants found in cultures all around the world? The debate rages on. Is it history or mythology? Science or science fiction? We may never know for sure. But as we continue to explore our own solar system and search for life beyond Earth, it's worth remembering the very first story ever written down. The story of a civilization that appeared from nowhere, and the sky gods who they claimed were their ancestors. Perhaps the truth has been hiding in plain sight for 5,000 years, etched in clay, waiting for us to finally be ready to listen. What do you think? Were the Anunnaki real extraterrestrial visitors? Or are these just the elaborate myths of an ancient people? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this journey into the distant past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries.